Listen, there is no reason that I make these videos. There's no reason at all. You are welcome to make up whatever reason or explanation that you want. And it won't be true. There's also no reason for you to watch these videos. You won't get anything out of it. You won't understand anything about it. You won't figure out the mystery. Because there's just nothing to figure out. It's just what it is. There's nothing else about it. There's nothing secret about this. It's just what it is. Even though it's actually more true to say that it isn't anything. That's more true. This isn't anything. It's not a video. It's not even an experience. This is not an experience. I mean, look at it. Look at what's going on. Look at what seems to be going on and see if you can actually find it. Can you actually pinpoint what this is? And I'm not talking about an interpretation. If you want to say this is a video, that's an interpretation. I mean what, in the immediate sense, what is this immediately? Any concept that you want to try and reduce this to is empty, because it's based on a bunch of other imaginary concepts that are themselves empty. And I'm actually not talking about one part of reality in comparison to a different part of reality. For instance, I'm not talking about, my YouTube channel versus other YouTube channels. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that my YouTube channel is nothing, whereas some other YouTube channels might be something. I'm saying everything's nothing. And I'm not saying that, for instance, this experience is irreducible, whereas other experiences are reducible. I'm not saying that this is a special thing that you can't grasp, whereas other things you can grasp. I'm actually saying that there are no things that can be grasped. And I'm saying there's no one to do any grasping. And there never has been. So, in that sense, I'm not talking about a this in comparison to something else. I'm not talking about this moment in comparison to other moments. There is no actual difference between this moment and other moments, because in fact, there are no other moments, nor is there even this moment. There is not a moment here. There is not a present moment. There's not a present. There is not a past, a future, or a present. There isn't time. There is not time. Give me a break. Come on. Show me time. Where is it? Or when is it, you know? It never has been. Never will be. And yet, paradoxically, there appears to be talking about it, but there's actually not. If you look, but actually you don't even have to look. You don't have to look at all. You don't have to look for anything for time to stop existing, for time to stop. Because there isn't any to begin with. There's not a continuous self that has a past and a future, that could realize something, that could realize the absence of itself. Because it actually, is no self whatsoever. And there's no condition of the self. There is no condition of having a self or being a self. It could be said that there appears to be a self, but that's not even true. There doesn't actually appear anything. Nothing actually appears. There's nothing perceived. There's no perceiver. There's no perception. There's no perception. There's no experience. There's no communication. There's no communication happening right now. There's no speaking, there's no hearing, there's no understanding. There's no knowing. There isn't actually anything. There aren't thoughts. There is nothing. And there's only nothing. There never has been something. There isn't anything real. There is no reality. And nothing actually needs to change, because in fact there isn't change. There is nothing that could change. Nor is there anything constant or static, because there is nothing. And in fact, the nothing is so nothing that it's not even something. Like, there's not even nothing as a something. It's not apprehendable as a something. Nothing is not apprehendable. It's not perceivable. It's not comprehensible. This is not comprehensible. This is not graspable. It's not understandable. Nothing can be done. Nothing is ever done. This doesn't have any relation to anything else, because there isn't anything else. If you feel like you're misunderstanding or not understanding, that's fine. Because that's really all that can seem to happen. In fact, the only apparent reality, and this is a mistake to say, this is kind of wrong to say, but I, just for the sake of argument, just to speak something incorrect because that's the only thing that can be spoken, are untruths, to proceed, but not, there's no, procession actually. It's kind of a joke. But, the only apparent reality is misunderstanding. For anything to be perceived as real, it must be incompletely understood. It must be misunderstood. And in fact, everything is always misunderstood. Because there is no actual understanding. Because there isn't anything because there is nothing, and nothing cannot be perceived, it cannot be experienced, it cannot be understood. There's only misunderstanding. There's only misperception. There's only misinterpretation. There's only contradiction. There's only misapprehension. That's all that there is. Now I know you want me to explain clearly. You want to understand. You want me to give examples. So that what's being talked about here can, correspond to actual reality, to hard, solid reality, to what's really real. That's what you want, for me to give examples. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. And either way, everything being said here is not true. Nothing being said here is true. And nothing that could possibly be said could be true at all. Everything said is incorrect. Everything said is a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation. Or if we want to, speak a little more generously, an incomplete understanding. But also, what I just said isn't true either. In fact, nothing is actually said. There is no speaking here. There is no talking. There is no hearing. There is no understanding. There is no experience. There is no such thing as correct or incorrect. It can be said that it seems like they're speaking here, but there actually isn't. There's nothing actually seeming. Nothing actually is appearing. Nothing is appearing, but it's actually not. It doesn't. It can't. It can only kind of disappear, but doesn't actually, because it was never, it was never there in the first place. Something easy. Anything that seems like solid truth, anything that seems true, is a total misunderstanding. Anything that has ever seemed true has been a total misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is what constitutes truth, which is to say that there is no truth. Truth is an enfoldment of untruth. Knowledge is an enfoldment of unknowing, of the unknowable. Reality is an enfoldment of nothing. The substrate of truth is untruth. Truth is completely composed of untruth. It's empty. Knowing is completely composed of unknowing. Knowing is the unknowable not knowing itself. When the unknowable doesn't know itself, which is always, because it can't, the unknowable cannot know itself, because it can't be known, and it can't know, it seems to create knowing. Because what knowing is an obscuration of the unknowable. It is the unknowable hiding from itself. It's not really hiding, it's just the fact that it can't be seen, it can't be known, ever. And so, the unknowing, the not knowing of the unknowable amounts to seeming to know something. There isn't actually oneness. There isn't actually an absolute. Because there could not be a oneness, there could not be a one or an absolute without a subject to know or perceive or experience it. Thus, there could not be a one without there being at least two. And if there are two, then there could not be one. There cannot be either two nor one. There cannot be the many, there cannot be the subject or the object. There's only nothing. There's no absolute. There's only nothing. And nothing is so nothing that it can't even be known. It can't even be known about. And this is why the many appear. This is why the world appears and the subject appears. This is why the object and the subject appear. They aren't actual. They aren't real. But nonetheless, they appear because the nothing is so nothing that it cannot even be itself. Do you see what I'm saying? Nothing cannot be. Nothing is. There is nothing, and it is so nothing. It is so profoundly nothing that it cannot even exist. It cannot even be. And hence, the appearance of something. The appearance of something. And yet, there appears to be something, and when there appears to be, something, which there can only be something if there are at least two, the object and the subject. Object, subject. And both are illusory, and this is always, the illusoriness of them is always found when you go for one, when you go towards either one, either way you go. You try to grab the world, you try to find something solid in the world, and it's always revealed to be empty, impermanent, unfulfilling, without actual substance. Any way you go about it. And maybe we'll get to some examples later on, even though that's like feels like an even more compromised way of speaking. But there is only a compromised way of speaking. Speaking can only be compromised. And then if you go try to find the subject, find the self, you try and go in and find the real self, the real me, and it's always revealed to be empty. You cannot find it. Ever. You can't find anything there. And yet, there seems to be this appearance. Like there seems to be the specific, the specific manifestation. Like why the specific, this question, why me specifically? And yet actually, there is no specificity. There actually is no identity. The apparent specificity of self is only a reflection of the apparent world. And the apparent specificity of the world is only a reflection of the apparent self. And when they are summed together, which is what life is, the answer is zero. The answer is nothing. And this is always. This isn't like something that needs to be done. It's not something that can be done. There's no doer. There's nothing done. It always has been, always will be. And that's also a compromised way of speaking, because actually never has been anything, nor will be anything, nor is anything. There is not anything. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to realize anything. You don't need to understand anything. You don't need to know anything. You can't, because there's no you in the first place. There's nothing that can be understood. There's nothing that can be known. There's nothing that can be done. There's only this apparent this. Which is false, there's not even this. There's not even this. Where's something? Where's something? Show me something. Show me this. Where is it and when is it? Where and when is this? Where is here? Show me here. There's no here. And this isn't an end to anything. This is not an end to anything. Nothing ends. There is no time. There never has been time. They're very seriously, there's no death. There is no death because there is no life. There's no self. There's no time. Death is only a component of the illusion that is life. The illusion of life is only composed of other illusory stories that are all empty in their own right. Cells, molecules, atoms, you look for the reality in any of these and they turn out empty. The the uh, the apparent solidity in anything in the world, any object perceived, apparently perceived, you know that reality is looked for, grasped after. The apparent objective reality is grasped after to try and find what is actually fundamentally real about it, because we keep realizing that every single level of what we thought was real about objective reality is not real, and so we go further and further looking for the solidity at the base of it all. And just for an example, in like quantum physics, you find that there is no base. There's no base reality, because it comes back to perception. It's like you find that what objective reality absolutely depends on to even appear is subjectivity, is the subject, the observer. But then you look for the observer, and the observer can't be found either. There's no subject. There's no subject. Objective reality is only appears because it's a reflection of subjective reality, of subjecthood, and neither can be found. And everything in between, all the layers of interpretation, are nothing but misunderstanding, misinterpretation, which is perfectly natural, because that's all that can seem to be. All that can seem to be is an interpretation, a misapprehension. Take any concept, take any system of thought, take any system of organization of the world, any paradigm, and see what it is. Is like a reduction, as in it has no substance. It is not the whole. It is not represent. It is an abstraction from reality. It only seems to kind of point to something else. You take any system of thought, and what do those concepts do? Like, all they do is seem to point towards reality. And then if you actually look to where they point to, you find that the reality that was pointed to does not exist, and that the concept that was pointing to it is completely empty. That knowledge is completely empty. And that's completely normal. It's not like knowledge is like a mistake just committed by humankind. In fact, there is no, even the concept of humankind is equally empty. Like, that can't even be found. This is not a positioning of one belief system over another belief system, because there is no belief system that has any substance. And there is in fact no base reality, because there is no reality at all. There is nothing. And in fact, there aren't even beliefs. There is no belief system. There never has been. Even the only apparent belief system is another belief, another story. There is no actual knowledge. There's not even the appearance of knowledge. What would ostensibly appear to be some external system of knowledge out there, science, religion, whatever it is there anything more to that than the idea of it? The idea that it exists somewhere, that there is Christianity, or that there is something called physics. Is there any reality to that other than some thought present in your mind? And then look towards that thought, and that thought doesn't even exist. It doesn't exist right now. There's no thought even exists right now. There's no looking. No looking even exists. No subjectivity. No objectivity. Nothing. There's no subjectivity. There's no self. There's no selfhood. There's no manifestation. There's not even an apparent self. And this is not truth. There is no truth here. There's no wisdom here or anywhere. There is nothing but nothing. There's nothing being said here. There is no language. This is not language. There is no perception. Nothing is being perceived. There is no problem. There is no problem. Except it could be said that everything is problematic. That there's only a problem. In the sense that nothing can be solved or figured out. And that nothing is so pervasive, you could say. It is so all there is that it can't be an answer. That it can't be resolved. It can't be final in any way because it can't exist. And so this is nothing not existing. And this is not an answer. This is not an understanding. And nothing needs to be said or done, and in fact, nothing is. There's nothing being said or done here. And nothing is true about this, actually. There is no truth about this. There's no truth to this, or to anything. There's nothing that could possibly be said that would contain any truth. Because there just isn't any. There isn't any truth. Nothing is going to be arrived at. There's nothing for you here, and there's nothing for me here. And there's nothing for you or me anywhere. There's nothing to get. Neither materially, or spiritually, or intellectually. There's nothing that could be gotten. There's no one that can get anything. There isn't anyone. And there's no need to say anything. There isn't anything that's important. And it doesn't mean that like one thing is unimportant while something else is. For instance, this doesn't mean nihilism. Because nihilism would imply that there is a self that is able to go on living without any morality. And that's not the case. There just isn't anyone to live anyway, because there isn't life. There isn't life. And so this just doesn't have implications for morality. This doesn't have any implications for morality, or what a person should do or shouldn't do, or what a person should even think or not think, or believe or not believe. It just does not matter. There aren't any people. And like, that might sound funny if you're thinking of the existence of a reality without people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is no reality. I'm saying that there's no anything. There's no anything. So it's not that certain things like morals, value, etc. don't exist while something else continues to exist. It's that there's nothing. Nothing exists. And yet it doesn't even exist. Because it can't by its nature. It's complete paradox. It's complete paradox. There's only paradox. There is only contradiction. It's like this cannot even be. Anything said here cannot even be, cannot be true, including this. It's the nothing is so nothing that it's paradoxical. The nothing is so non-existent that it doesn't even exist, and so here apparently is this here, and yet this here isn't.